Hello and welcome to Edupedia World. So, we just made some shapes using these preset objects, and we will now, instead of using the preset objects, we will actually be creating our own shapes. Instead of using the preset objects, we will be using these splines. So this is all the splines that are in Cinema 4D. You've got the freehand spline where you can basically just draw whatever you want. You can make a Bezier, a B-spline, Akima, cubic, linear, and all that stuff. And then you've got some presets. You can do an arc, circle, helix, star, all that stuff. Let's just start up by making a cubic spline. I will show the grid, and I will start drawing a shape. So this is like creating a mask in in After Effects. You basically just click, and if you would want something that's exactly like in After Effects, then you would have picked the Bezier option, because this is a cubic spline and it works a bit different. You just click, and then Cinema 4D will interpret between these points. So right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points, and I want to close the spline. So I can't just click over here, that won't do anything. I'll have to go in here to the settings and just tick this box that says close spline. I can then press V and deselect. So this is our shape. We can go in, since right now you can see we're in the point mode, you can go in, press E, and take these points and then start moving them around. You can also move them around in 3D, like this, and they will move around the way the cubic spline says they have to. So this is now our shape, and let's say that let's actually try and delete this, go into our top view, and then start creating an actual let's say we wanted to create a logo. I'll just be looking around, I can't really see anything. Let's just do a linear logo. So we can do let's just say that this was our logo. So this is some kind of weird tree, like this. I will do 0, press 0, and I'll take these points and move them just a bit. Just by move it down here. And there we go. So let's say this was our logo. I know it looks really bad, but this is our logo. So we could take a picture and put it here in the background, and then we could draw exactly on top of it using like the Bezier spline, but I didn't have that in hand. So this is just like a tree or a mushroom. So this is like mushroom.co. This is Mushroom Incorporation's logo. Let's call it that. So we want to make this into a 3D object, and we can do that very easily. So take this spline, and then while you hold Alt, or actually you don't need that, just go up here, go up into this menu and choose Extrude. We can take our spline and put it into Extrude, and if we go into Extrude and change these settings, so movement, we don't want any movement on the Z-axis, we only want movement on the Y-axis. As you can see, we're actually able to extrude out a shape. Let's just say 150, and now we have taken our shape and made it into an object. So if you use programs like Adobe Illustrator, then you'll be able to create a very cool shape in Adobe Illustrator, and you'll be able to move it into Cinema 4D, do this maneuver, and you'll have a shape in 3D. and it only takes like 2 seconds. So this is our shape. The extrude operation has the same some of the same options as like just the cube. You can do, instead of just having cap, you can do fillet cap. I keep saying fillet cap, but I know it's not a fish fillet. So see if you change the radius. Let's just put this to just cap. Oh, sorry. Fillet cap and none. So here in the top we can start changing the radius, and that will give us like a nice edge to the mushroom. And we can also add some segments to give it a curved corner. Since our logo is very jagged, yeah, it's not smooth, I will put the steps to I'll just add one step to keep the simple design. We can render this, and here's our logo. In the extrude there are some other options. I won't go into detail with those, but that's basically how you can create a shape from just this spline. Let's take a look at another way. So let's say we are in the business for wine or Coca-Cola or something like that, and we've been put on the job to create a Coca-Cola can or a water bottle or something. We can do that by using these circle splines. So as you saw, I made a circle and put it right here. So the technique I'm going to be using is using splines to create the bottle, and I'll be using a Loft Nurb. So let's just first take this thing and then just start copying it. So imagine that this area here in between will be turned into like the polygon faces will be put here in between these lines. So I can take this, move it up a bit, scale it in, and you can see if I were to add 1 billion of these, I'd be able to draw out my bottle very easily. So as you can see, it's actually starting to look a little bit like a bottle. So you need to make sure that the order that these guys are in are the correct one. So this guy, which actually is the bottom one, was put on the top. So I will put that in the at the bottom, because if it's at the top like this one was, again, it won't work. So I'll drag down, it'll create a new one, put it at the top. I'll put it at the bottom because we're at the bottom, and do it on last one down here like that. There we go. We've got all these splines. I'll take them, hold Alt. Sorry, no I won't. I'll just go in here and take, I think I can use, yes, I can definitely use the Loft Nurb right here, and that's the one I need to use. I'll put those inside the Loft Nurb, and you'll be able to see what it has done. So it has basically taken all of these shapes that I created, and it's using them to create this pretty ugly bottle. So you can take maybe these two in the bottom and scale them in a bit, move them up to create a bit of an edge, because you can see this one right here and this one right here, they are basically creating this line right here. You can take these two guys and scale them out in order to change the hole in the bottle. I can maybe start moving around the neck There we go, it's pretty cool. We can yeah. So this is how we can create a quick bottle. Of course there's a bit of we don't have the like the cap and the I don't know what it's called, like the one where you screw in the cap. We don't have all that modeled, and the bottom is also just flat. But in general this is looking quite alright. We can maybe add a fillet cap here in the bottom, and that will make things look a little bit nicer. You can also add a fillet cap at the top. And this is a pretty decent bottle. So this is made using a Loft Nurb. There are also other types of Nurbs, like the Lathe Nurb and the Sweep Nurb. So let's take a look at the Lathe Nurb here. So to do this, we want to go into the front view. You can see I'm in the front view. I will take a spline. I'll actually pick the Bezier spline, and this is another way that you can create, for example, a bottle. So I am basically painting the the outline of the bottle. So I'm making something that you can like rotate 180 degrees around, and it will create, in the end it will look like a bottle. Press V. I'll just start moving these points around just a bit. If we do Control and click, you can add a new point, and I'll use this to, I'll move it up here just to create a little bit of detail. And take all these points, move them in here to the side just a bit. Move these guys in, and there you go. You can actually see, or hopefully you can see that if we were to rotate this around like this point, it would turn into a bottle. We need to take this point and move it to 0 on the x-axis, so just right click right here, or of course we can't do that for some reason, but now this is in the middle. If we go out here, see our shape, and this is basically half the bottle. So we can make a Lathe Nurb, add the spline in, and there's our bottle. It's very large, so if we were to, what has happened? Oh yeah, nothing is wrong. We can take the Lathe Nurb, just deselect it real quick, then we can take this spline and just scale it, so you can see that way we can change the dimensions of the bottle. And now it looks a little bit nicer, and in a matter of a few seconds we have created a bottle. Let's change the bottom of this bottle, and there you go, we've got a bit nicer. You can go into this lathe, and in the object tab you can see if we turn on the lines, we are able to change the subdivision and that basically means that we can change how smooth it looks. So just render it from different angles. Because this is a lathe, that means it's like taking this spline and rotating it around and creating this shape. That means we can also change how far around it is actually rotating. So right now the angle is set to 360. If we decrease this, you'll see what I mean. It's taking the spline and then rotating it all the way around. So you can like create, put this to 180. We will have the half of a bottle, like this. That is pretty cool. If we were, let's try something cool, put this into a symmetry, and then, okay, so it has to be cloned on XY, go into symmetry, and find XY. That way we can now make it look like, if we were to make an animation, I'll show you how you can do that later, but we can actually make it look like the bottle is being opened up. So 180, and then it's being opened up like that. That's pretty cool. So enough about that. That was the lathe nurb. The last one is a sweep nurb, and that's basically I will just show you. Let's make a cubic spline like this. Let's say we had we were set on a mission by someone to create a we were set on a mission to create a hose that laid on the ground, and we were like, how do we do this? Well, this is one way. So you can see I used the spline to create all these shapes. I'll actually take all these shapes, select all the points, and then press T and then scale them until it hits 0. That means they're all gonna be completely horizontal. That's like with the water level, you know, they're all gonna be completely horizontal. Move them up a bit higher than the plane, and it's now time to use the sweep nurb. So what the sweep nurb does is that it can take a shape and then clone it along a spline. So we will add this spline into the sweep nurb, and it will also pick whatever shape we want. So I'll be using a circle because, well, a water hose is a circle. So we can decrease the size of this guy, and we can also go into the sweep nurb, or sorry, into the circle, and then we can change the amount of subdivisions. We can go into the garage shading, and we can go into our side view, where we will be able to move the plane up until it touches the bottom of our hose. If we add ambient occlusion and render this, it's going to look quite alright. So there we go, we've got our hose laying flat onto the ground, and maybe the guy who made you do this wanted the hose to go up in the end. You could do it this way. You just take the spline and just move it around a bit until it looks like it's going up, and there you go. Now your hose will be going up into the air. and we can add an area light. That's the favorite. That's my favorite lights. So 90 degrees. Make it a little bit bigger. Move it up, and in the shadow, add the area shadow, and to make it look even nicer, put this to something like 75. That way the shadow isn't too harsh. There we go. This is, in my opinion, this is a pretty nice render. You can see the shadow being all diffused, and there we go. So now you know how that is done. And yeah, of course there's one last Nurb that we haven't covered, and that's the Bezier Nurb. It's very simple. In my opinion, it doesn't have that many uses. Let's just remove the grid. So the Bezier Nurb, what is that? If we go into the point mode, you can see it turns into some blue squares, lines, and there are some vertices. If we move these around, see if you're able to make like a smooth shape out of it, like this. And that is basically what a Bezier Nurb is useful for. If you were to like render something and you wanted a nice and smooth background, then you could use something like a Bezier Nurb to create it. It looks a bit like a cloth that's hanging. If you do like this, it looks like a pretty heavy cloth hanging, and that's basically it. You can also change the amount of grid points that it has, and this way you can more precisely control how your surface is looking. So this is basically what a Bezier Nurb can be used for. So that's about it for Nurbs, and I hope to see you again in the next video.
Thank you for watching Edupedia World. Stay tuned for more videos.